Welcome to the Oloki Workshop. I'm Richard. I have a crosscut sled to show off today, and this is not the ultimate crosscut sled. I made a video some years ago on crosscut sleds, and I have several of them, and I made one that was this giant thing. It's like 40 pounds or something like that. I made a new one. It's lighter weight. But as I said, it is not the ultimate. It's not the perfect, because the ultimate crosscut sled, the perfect one, there are dozens of them out there on YouTube. So if you want the perfect one, this is not it. But it is very unusual. See what I mean? Is that different or what? Anyway, so I'll put it up on the saw here and we'll take a look at some of its characteristics. Well, here it is on the table saw, and one of the first things you might notice is that there is no back fence here because this is solid material across here. So as a result of that, there's no need for a back fence back there, okay? Obviously, then you cannot have a curve here because, well, we'll cut it in half and then you need a fence. Here's a blade, and so the working distance that you got then, let's take a look here, and that's about 26 inches. And if you wanted to do the raise the blade trick, into the work, you could get probably almost 29, 30 inches. I don't think so. You cut a little bit more back there, you might get 30 inches. But by the time you're cutting something that big, you're probably going to grab your track saw, circular saw with a guide or something like that. So that's that. Then I guess you'll notice also that these corners are cut off here, and that's because they're not needed. I mean, the work is usually not big enough that it's going to fall off. And if it does need to be supported in some manner, you can put some weights here, like 12 packs of soda, for example, one here, and like that. So I cut those off to save some weight. I also cut these windows in here, and that makes it lighter as well. So those are some of the overall characteristics. This whole thing is, what is the whole thing? It's about 42 inches front to back, and it is about something like 44 inches side to side. So that's a pretty good size fence. Now, as far as speaking of fences, as far as fences are concerned, this fence, as you might see here, is quite different. It is not a tall type of fence. That always bothered me because I'm always having to look over and see if there's anything along here, and is my work, up tight against the fence before I make the cut, and so on. So I don't see any need for that. I don't cut anything more than 3/4 of an inch. It'd be very rare I'd do anything more than that. And so, by the way, the whole base is made out of 1/2-inch Baltic birch, and so is the fence. So the fence is just 1/2 inch up here, and so your 1/4 inch piece is going to be proud of this by 1/4 inch, but that works okay. Here's a piece of 3/4 inch on the sled, and you can see how it sticks up there above the 1/2 inch fence, and so that makes it really easy to see that it's in the right position, and it's right up against the fence where it should be without having to look over. So since it's not a tall fence, then it has to be a wide, this way, thick or something fence. So hence this distance. What is this little guy? This guy is 3 inches. So this is just a piece of 1/2 inch and a piece of 1/2 inch. It's straight all the way through, of course. And then I just built this bridge, these additional layers. So there's a 1/2 inch and then one more and one more and more. So this whole thing is 2 inches. Just a minute. Yeah, this whole thing is 2 inches high here, and that gives plenty of support for the whole thing because it gets cut in two right here, right? One other thing is that This, the base is set back in here. And in other words, this fence comes forward of this where I cut this base right in here. So there's a little spot, in here like that. And then before somewhere early in the process, before I did a bunch of cutting on this thing, I took my router and ran a dado all the way across here. So there's a dado right here, and that dado extends back underneath this fence. And that means that anything that gets trapped in there has a little hidey hole place to go. And you still got to keep it cleaned out, though, And one of the handy ways to keep that cleaned out is with this little blow tube thing here that I've had for many, many years. It says blow on this end, so I don't get it backwards. And anyway, yeah, if there's stuff in there, you just give it a quick dusting out like that and there, and you are good to go. So anyway, that's the thing. Now on making this thing, okay, go through that right quick. On making this, I just got a piece of the 5x5 Baltic birch. Bring it home and cut the back piece off there. Get this dimension, all right. And at that time, we still got a rectangle, right? So since we got a rectangle at that time, I can make these two cuts. So I still got this piece out here, and I can run it up against the fence and get it just in the right spot to make a plunge up. You got to do a plunge up thing, from the bottom, cut from here to here, and then I can move it over and cut it from here to here. Okay, then I still have this piece here, right? Which I can put this against the fence, and I can make these two cuts right here. So at that time, I got a curve from here to here and from here to here. The next thing to do is to cut these off, these edges right here. And I did that with get this blade down. I did that with the trick where you take a 2x4, actually. Take a 2x4, get this squared away here. Take a 2x4 and you place the 2x4, you clamp it underneath the workpiece right here, okay? And then you very carefully, pushing this way as well as toward the blade, you hold that 2x tight against the edge of the table and run it through and make this cut. And then you flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. Then since these two cuts are made, and I got this, those two corners off of it, then you can use this against the fence in order to make this cut right here. And the same way on the other side. So once that's done, then I used a saber saw, to make these final cuts like this, so that bring the cuts together. And then I had to do a little trick here to get that one right there. So then that's all done. So then it's time to run this dado across here. I think I did that next. And then it's time to make the fence down. So make the fence down, you know how to do that. You put a screw underneath on this end, and then you put one over here, and then you, I just lined it up with the framing square. I used a framing square, and I put some Formica sample things in here that I had. And so I got them tight, whatever, and run this up against there like that, and then run it down here like this and get this thing where it ought to be, and then pull it off the end, clamp it down, and then this screw is already in, then drive this screw right here, do your 5-cut thing if you want to do the 5-cut thing. And by the way, lucky me, it turned out to be absolutely perfect. So I didn't have to make any further adjustments out of that. And then couple of screws underneath here, and it's all done. So I guess that's about it on this guy. And of course, you know, it's not the ultimate, it's not the perfect, but it works for me. Now, as far as these guides are concerned, or whatever you want to call them, that go in the miter slots, they are made out of oak. That's what I did. I did red oak. There's, you know, many opinions over whether you should use that or some type of a plastic material, but they're working great for me. And you know how to do. There are plenty of videos on how to do that. Cut these things, make them nice and straight, tune them, fine tune them in the slots, and then put the washers down. Put a little glue on them. Take the base, put it on top of it, make sure it's squared across the back, and let it set, and glue it. And then I put these screws in there, and so that's what's going on there. And then also. Yeah, wax them down so they got wax on them, and so it runs real smoothly. Very nice. Yeah, there you go, just perfect. Well, I guess that about wraps her up for the weird looking, unusual, not perfect, and not ultimate crosscut sled. Thanks for watching. You can find all of my videos on my website at olokieworkshop.com. See you later.